And
With
brings us,
yeah, it brings us to our top five horror movies, and these are ones that you and I not have seen together,
no,
but we have seen in our lifetimes.
that's it,
So,
definitely.
do you want to kick off with your number
Yeah,
five?
let's kick off. So my number five is a film that, I'll be honest, is probably the first horror film that I saw in the cinema. So 1996, turned 18 in 1996. So I would have been able to go and see this at the cinema. And it is Scream is my
Scream. Yeah.
number five, which I loved. It was done by Wes Craven, who'd already done like the Nightmare on Elm Street series and that. So he's a well-known director. But I just felt for me, it created. I loved the fact that you had like the iconic murderer as such in it with the ghost face,
Yeah.
and sort of that was really stuck out. A lot of these horror movies, I think that's quite important with them, isn't it? It's like that image of the killer.
I had a fancy dress costume with that mask.
Yeah,
It was amazing. I just loved the look of that
yeah,
as a character. Yeah.
exactly. And it was, even though it was obviously very scary, it was cool in a like cartoony sense as well. My mate had that mask as well when he used to like come around our flat and literally sit on the sofa watching television just wearing the mask. And it had
Slightly strange.
which was a bit weird, you'd look at him, right? And he's there in the mask. But I loved that like the whole film sort of didn't take itself too seriously. I felt it like found that balance of being such a good horror movie and really scary, like tense in places, but it also didn't take itself seriously, and it sort of referenced itself a bit in like the people are blaming each other, but then you've like trying to work out who did it or who is the killer, but also there was comment on like the kids being they're desensitized to this, they don't care about murderers and this sort of thing anymore, and they were almost like celebrating this character,
Yeah.
whoever it was that was going round and that. Awesome.
Yeah, no, it was a great film. And the thing is, it created a whole new franchise, really, as well, with the Scary Movie, like the comedy spin-off of it, which they were. I mean, at least the first two or three were really funny. But for a horror film, I think it kind of brought in. I know there were kind of psychological horrors before that, but I think as a youngster, I certainly thought all horror movies were kind of ones about monsters and ghosts and things like that, where at least with this there was a real kind of element to it, with the fact that it was someone going around killing people. But
the phone call,
the phone
starting
call,
off
so
with that phone call
famous.
with Drew Barrymore and whatever.
Yeah.
It's such an amazing scene, isn't
Yeah,
it?
no,
You saying Scary Movie though, looking at like reading into it before the show, apparently the production name for Scream was Scary Movie.
right.
So when they did the Scary Movie ones, all they did was basically take the name what Scream was going to be called.
Interesting.
There you go, bit of trivia.
Good shout.
Yeah.
My number five was from the year 2000 and was also a franchise of films. I can't remember how many they'd done now, and I definitely haven't seen all of them. But I remember the first kind of two or three really sticking out. And 2000, I would have been 14, 15 then. Yeah, I think.
Too young to see the film.
Yeah, probably. I can't remember what the age rating was, but it was based on like a teen horror movie, so it did fit kind of my age demographic at the time. But it was Final Destination.
Right, yeah.
Don't know if you remember them, but it was.
It's the one where they die. Like they know they're gonna die at a certain point or something.
Yeah. So from my memory, and I've not done the same research that you have, but from memory, it was like a group of friends, and each one of them, it was like almost like an order of which one of them was going to die next, but they didn't know when it was going to happen or how it was going to happen.
Yeah.
And it just, to me, and it'll come back round to my number one in some respects, with a similar way in which the film kind of appealed to me. It was kind of the craziness of some of the ways that people died. I remember, I think it was
a roller coaster one.
Well, I was going to say, I think that was the third one. There was a roller coaster, and didn't it go flying into someone or something like that?
Yeah.
But there was, what I loved about it was you were on the edge of your seat waiting for something, and there might be. I remember one where there was a girl in her flat, and I think there was like popcorn being made or something like that in the kind of American way. I might have got this completely wrong, but in my head, and something's like going, or there was something kind of making like a high whistling noise, almost like you would a kettle or something like that, and you're thinking something's going to explode in a minute and she's going to get it, and it turned out to be nothing going on inside. I'm pretty sure it was something happened outside afterwards, like she managed to get out of the house. I think a fire started, maybe she got out of the house, and then it was definitely, in America you have like them kind of things outside the building where you have like a ladder you can pull down and climb up. And I'm pretty sure one of them fell down and went through her eye or went through her face. I mean, when you think of that, it's grim. But and again, it'll come back around to that. But I just remember them being like, like cringe, but at the same time, you were like, God, that I did not expect that sort of thing. And yeah, it's probably a bit soft for it to be considered a horror film because it was a very teeny sort of film. But for me, it's one that sticks out. I did have another one in mind, but I think that one just topped it for my number 5.